Okay, good evening. Welcome to the September 21st meeting of the Open Space Committee. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I have 7:08 on my watch, so that's what time we will say we are called to order. First item on the agenda is discussion items by the town-owned parcels, and we have a new sorted table of parcels of property that we were just going to discuss a little bit. So, Eric, John, you had a question about the sorting.
Right. Looking at this list, the first 15 or so items are sorted, and I think the sort here is by acreage, correct?
Yes,
Okay, so
descending order.
descending, so it goes from 45.1 down to the parcel at 3 Oak Lane at 0.14. And then the next entry is for 46.4 acres, and that seems to descend through the balance of the spreadsheet.
That's correct.
And I'm not sure, I was just wondering if there was a particular reason that those first group of items were separated and not in a numerical order.
I would think that there was a thought process behind that. There's a reason, but it's, Matt had sorted the table, and
As far as those distinctions go, I'm not
aware of why.
Okay.
So I think from the last meeting, we kind of pretty much come to the conclusion that we were going to take a look at what Matt had designated. I think it's possible parcels that might be marketable if they have enough frontage on a public way to meet the zoning requirements, and if they have suitable topography and that they're not, like a cliff and they're not full of wetlands. Is that what everyone's recollection was?
Yep.
We were going to take a look that way. So I think that's probably how he started up the sorting. I'm guessing. I'm speculating. I don't know. But I think the plan was we were going to look at each parcel on the monitor.
On the screens.
Mhm.
Yeah. And Matt, he did seem to indicate that the more significant, or what he felt were of higher potential value, were at the top of the list, so that may have played a role in that sort there.
Mm-hmm.
And what he explained to me is that we would go through the list and mark the parcels as potential for further investigation in the future. And I wouldn't anticipate that we'll get through the whole list tonight. It kind of depends on, I guess, how you guys are all feeling.
We can just start right at the top.
You can just tell me where you're at, 'cause this is very small.
Sure. So this is Barnes Street, and it's a 45-acre parcel.
It was a former Gilbert Stockwell.
Okay, and there's actually a 30-acre parcel that goes with that. It's contiguous to it.
Correct.
And that is under the jurisdiction of the Conservation Commission. And I know that there's a brook, I forget the name of it, that runs towards the rear of it, and it's pretty steep, and it's totally wooded right at the moment, but I think we concluded the two parcels combined make it the largest town-owned parcel.
Is there a deed restriction on it that you know of?
As far as I know, it was given to, I don't know the history of it, they've had it for many, many years. They had it way before I became a member in 1989. And it was, I don't know whether they purchased it or whether it was donated to the town, but it is earmarked for conservation. And whether it has an actual deed restriction, that I don't recall, honestly. Louise, do you know?
No, I really don't know.
You just leave it as all woods?
Right now, it's all wooded. In my tenure on the Conservation Commission, there were 2 or 3 times when Boy Scouts would come in, and there's an Eagle Scout project.
Yeah.
They would go in and, kind of carve out some trails. But, it doesn't take long for them to grow in. And it's kind of tough because there's no place to park over there. And it's wooded right down to to the
To
road.
the
There's no
street,
like
yeah.
place to pull off. So it makes it kind of hard, and you know, we have an ordinance that, you know, a bylaw that prohibits parking of a vehicle on an unpaved surface. So you'd have to like create some sort of parking, paved parking, I get, you know, if you were going to utilize it, you know, as a recreation site. But I don't, you know, speaking for myself, from my history with conservation, I don't think it's something that would be particularly marketable, nor do I think the commission would want to give that up. But as we're looking at other things in the future, I mean, maybe there's an opportunity there for some sort of a, you know, I don't know, some sort of passive recreation, maybe some trails, maybe some snowshoeing in the winter,
Mhm.
you know, cross-country skiing, that sort of thing. You know, it might be good for that kind of thing. Maybe not so much the cross-country, because isn't that pretty much on a flat level?
No,
No.
I mean,
No, you can do it on a
Oh, yeah,
slope?
absolutely.
up and
Oh,
down,
okay.
yeah, hills, yeah.
Okay, I wasn't real sure.
Is there any land that you could, any space you could clear over and put some parking?
Um,
Put some asphalt down?
probably right off the road, but, you know, it's a considerable expense, but now I'm not sure, you know, I don't want us to get mixed up in our progression here of what we're
Mhm.
looking at. We're gonna try to focus on stuff that we could sell from,
You-
you know, for building lots.
Not necessarily. I think
Okay,
it was, you know, it was just taking a look at
largest parcels first.
the parcels and just saying, this is something that the group feels, you know, we should investigate further. There's potential here, whether it's for sale, for development, or it's,
Mhm.
you know, for future open space use, recreational
Mhm.
use, that sort of thing. And perhaps, you know, with this parcel, just looking at it, you can see like there's a waterway that
Right.
appears to run through there.
Mhm.
So we would maybe want to make a note that there's potential wetlands.
Well, I know that you have at least a brook, and given the fact that the topography is so steep,
Right.
it's probably, I'm guessing, I could be totally wrong, but I'm guessing it's probably a pretty well-defined brook.
Hmm.
But there could be bordering vegetated wetland associated with it, you know?
Right. So that may be potential. And I think the other determination the group could say is that, you know, this isn't something that the group considers valuable, you know, either for future use or for potential sale. And so we just note that,
Mhm.
you know. Does that make sense?
Yep.
For-
I'm
for
glad,
towns.
you know, because I'm really kind of not sure where we're going with this, and so it seems like a kind of a bit of a daunting task, because we have so many town-owned parcels, and some of them are teeny little pieces.
Yeah.
So maybe if we can make some headway with the larger ones,
Mhm.
then maybe, I don't know, maybe I'd have it more settled in my mind, but. So, what do you all think about this particular parcel, since those two parcels combined do
It
make the
is.
largest parcel we have? I mean, I know they're putting houses on cliffs today, but, you know, I think we might be
We're trying
wrestling.
to.
They're
Yes.
trying to,
Yes, they are
Um,
trying, and they're succeeding.
Mhm.
There's some new ones right here in town that are.
off Elmwood Street.
Yes, exactly. So I mean, I wouldn't, you know, I suppose it could be feasible, but I don't know that the Conservation Commission would be amenable to giving that up,
Right.
you know?
Is there a way to determine the grade here? And
We,
each line is 10 feet, or?
I don't believe we have it that defined. Let's see what we have for contours. Jeez.
I don't know if we have that layer, but the closer the
Six.
lines, the
Yeah.
steeper the property.
Yeah, so it is 10 feet. You're right. 10-foot contours. So looking at it as a whole, it looks like the top is relatively flat, and then you've got it sloping.
Yeah, down towards the brook.
Mm.
Yeah, it looks like from Barnes Street up to the top is at least 100 feet in elevation, you know, based on those lines, which is at least, so, It's relatively steep as far as what, I mean, I'm not looking to sell off buildable lots necessarily. I mean, I think that part of what I look at this nice parcel of land is, can we in some way capture it for use as, for something for passive recreation, or even just as open space? You know, that there's nothing wrong with just having open space, but where at times we seem to be in need of slightly developed areas, this is certainly one that maybe has some potential.
Yeah.
I couldn't agree with you more about there being nothing wrong with open space, just being open space. And you know,
We
for,
need some, it's quickly disappearing in this
Right.
town.
and given, you know, and given its steepness, I mean, that might be a nice challenging hike,
Oh, yeah, I think it would
you know, for some folks that are, you
be
know,
able to do that.
yeah.
I mean, it's interesting to me when I look at these maps, and you know, here not only is the block on the right looking at the map, there's a whole bunch of other smaller lots in there
Yeah,
that are technically in Auburn, but they're probably landlocked because I assume that's the Millbury line, or
Yeah.
is it? Is that correct?
Mhm.
Okay, so they're not really, they can't be developed unless
Right.
somebody buys
No.
property in Millbury and extends back in.
you're talking about like these little things right here?
No, they're not where the houses are, but these over here.
Oh, I see, okay.
Okay. So, I don't know what the implication of that is, but it's certainly something that to take into consideration, that it's a pretty protected space of land. There's not a lot of bordering houses
No,
or development of any kind.
Right.
Now, does the Sportsman's Club come near there, Al?
Close. It's further north. Right about there, yeah.
In
That
here.
area, it's a little further more north, a little bit more. In that area.
That's where those lands meet. No.
Right where that pond is, that's all the sports.
So this right here is the Sportsman Club?
Yeah, that pond,
Back.
south, all the way down,
Yeah, so this is their land. It actually does
it does a butt.
Yeah.
come right up and touch the smaller parcel there. Wonder who owns this. So it looks like it's, you know, privately owned open land at the moment there. But to your point, without seeing what the road does in Millbury, we wouldn't know if, you know, this might be part of a larger lot that has frontage in Millbury.
Mhm. No, I agree.
You know.
I just don't see much in the way of property there. That's,
Right.
although they're not orange like Auburn properties, but
Yeah. The access to the property is odd.
yes.
Because it's just there are two touch points on Barnes
Little
Street.
narrows, yeah.
Yeah, 40 feet there
10 feet,
and yeah, 10 or 11 feet
yeah, 11 feet.
there,
right.
you know.
But those, depending on how steep that area is, and certainly the one on the left side, even though it's narrow, it doesn't look terribly steep.
Right,
You know, that could be a driveway into a parking lot
yeah.
Right.
if we ever wanted to develop that land into some further use.
Yeah, but this, you know, it's a nice, I mean, like you said, both. You got 40 foot lane there. Rises 20 feet. 20 feet over a 200, almost a 300 foot span.
So it's
That's not really a bad, you know, a bad slope.
And it would potentially, if, you know, for the residents that live there, if anything was done that was well beyond their property lines, it would be a lot less intrusive to
Right.
them.
Yeah,
You know, like where your arrow is now, if we had a small, 20-car parking lot up there, then
right.
it really wouldn't interfere with their lives. I mean,
Yeah.
I don't know what your experience is, but I don't think these places have a traffic flow that's that high.
No.
You know, you're going to have a few people come in the morning and a few people stop by in the afternoon, and it's not like having ball fields up there.
No, exactly. And it will depend on if it gets developed for that passive use, on how well the word is out and people are made aware of it,
Mhm.
you know. Sure. So it sounds like the group would be
In favor of marking this as, as potential for future,
Passive
investigation,
Yeah, mhm,
and likely passive recreation.
yeah, I think so.
Okay.
Could you put bike trails in that, or is it just too steep?
mountain bike trails, but I wonder if the parcel's too small for
For that,
biking, you know?
because you wouldn't be able to connect a trail to anywhere.
Right.
It would all have to be contained
You have to
within.
be contained within. But I'm not sure.
Okay. So does the group feel comfortable with
With the Barn Street Properties Reserve.
Okay. Next one is on off of Leicester Street.
Just plug it in here. That is an odd
Very odd.
I'd say
shaped
that
parcel for you.
Really.
it kind of looks like a man. That's his nose and his big chin.
Auburn's man on the mountain.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Leicester Street goes out by the former dump?
Yep,
Okay.
Rochdale Street goes by
Yeah.
the former dump.
Leicester.
yeah.
Now, someone told me yesterday, I was asking somebody kind of where this parcel was. And do you know you guys know where the white property was?
Kind of.
Terribly steep property that,
The
uh,
Burned down?
yeah, that burned down. That property is not adjacent to this, but it is just up the street a bit.
Yeah.
That's where they wanted to put a bunch of houses in.
Yeah, 200 houses.
Is that where they were looking at that?
Yeah. They had
That's
put together 500 acres of land
Okay.
in that whole side up there with privately owned parcels. It wasn't
Okay.
all one, it was a bunch of parcels grouped together. That's what it was going to be.
Good thinking it happened.
Yeah, so that mansion is up. Well, the former mansion's up at the top of the hill there.
Right.
Hmm.
So that's
What?
right up the way from this.
There was a mansion up at the top of the hill,
Okay.
and it's burned down.
Is it not
It was
gonna?
Where was the former dump? In that area?
Rochdale Street.
I don't know what number Rochdale it is. Matt didn't have that on the list.
Yeah.
So,
So that looks like the former dump there.
Alex, if you're going out Rochdale Street
Yes.
and you go under the railroad bridge,
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
you take a right on Leicester. Okay, and that's where this property is.
That's where this property is,
Yes,
right?
yeah.
Yeah. Not
Yeah.
too far from the Tin Bridge, right?
hmm Heading up towards Stafford Street.
Exactly.
Was there a pond down there someplace?
There's a couple ponds down there.
Yeah, a swimming pond
The
years
old,
ago?
yeah, the old
Are we
Rotary
thinking
Beach.
of, yeah, Rotary Beach?
Yeah, where's Rotary Beach in relation to that?
I'm trying to
Rotary
think. What
Beach
that?
is down here.
Rochdale
so-
Street.
Yeah,
Yeah.
okay.
It's down here somewhere.
Okay.
That's the railroad tracks that's going right there, adjacent to that,
Right.
at the,
That's I believe the power line easement.
power line.
So they have just a tiny, they have a little bit of frontage on a street.
On
Not
Leicester
much.
Street.
Looks
Not
like a
much
steep
though,
place
tiny.
too, right?
It's not, I don't think that's terribly
Is that a hill there?
steep. I mean, it's a hill, but there's a couple of, looks like, tops that are
Yeah.
70, 80 feet up over a fairly good distance.
This is what, 25 acres more or less?
Yeah.
Yeah, so it's odd that sort of bucket at the bottom has a hill in it,
Mm-hmm.
and then the back here is another grade change there. That one's in the back is actually pretty significant, looks like. These lines get pretty close.
Yeah, they do. That upper left corner.
Hmm.
Um,
Who owns that property just above it? right here.
I believe it's a trust, and they own pretty much all the land up on that hill. Sharon Partnership, so. I don't know.
Shannon. Yeah, this was part, that's what it was.
Was
This
it
is next-
Pappas
this
in
is
there
next
too?
to Shannon, Joe Shannon's old property. I don't know about Pappas's.
Yeah.
There was an SDC Realty Trust up there. I'm not sure exactly where. But that was part of the Pappas's. But that was who, I was told was in between, was Joe Shannon. So it might be some of the Shannon,
Okay.
because he's passed away, so the
Hmm.
late Joe Shannon.
Weird property boundaries, huh?
Yeah,
Gee,
it's really strange.
yeah.
I wonder whether the town, I wonder how they came to own this parcel.
You think they took it from people not paying taxes?
I don't know.
It does say,
Does it say tax
yeah,
title?
it does.
Okay.
It says New England Power Tax Title Land with frontage.
So how much frontage do they have there? Not very much, right? It's tiny.
Yeah, I was having a hard time seeing that number, admittedly. Um,
Probably not something, I don't know.
it
Is
says
it
140
140
feet.
feet.
140?
Yeah.
Oh,
I wonder if they could do any of those funky things like a hammerhead. I don't know. Like, is that 140 feet? Could they use that like for an access point to develop like a
A subdivision in the back? there?
subdivision? Yeah, could they do that?
potentially. Mm-hmm.
So that 140 feet on an existing public way would be sufficient to put a road?
Yeah.
There?
And then you've got 50 foot at that pinch,
Yep.
and I believe a road right away needs to be 50 feet.
That's exactly right.
So,
So you could just barely squeeze it through.
yeah, you could send a road back there, and then, you know, I wouldn't be able to say how many houses you could fit there. but-
No. But I know that the rules allow them to have an 800-foot roadway,
Mhm.
unless the planning board gives them a
A
special
waiver.
permit. Yeah, to waive that 800 feet.
Yep.
But the bylaw typically says 800 feet.
Mm-hmm.
Could they come back out to Leicester Street at all? Make it like a horseshoe or not?
No, there isn't potential for that.
So it would have to be like a dead end, right?
Cul-de-sac?
Yeah, cul-de-sac.
But is it too steep to develop, do you think?
I feel like this, you know, this spot is, you'd need to do some grading, you know, and I would imagine that would increase the cost of the project, viability of the project.
Plus, there's no sewer and water out there, right?
Right.
That's true.
And that's,
Nothing.
you know, that's definitely an issue in that part of town. That that large project that was gonna come here would have brought sewer and water. They started out, there were gonna be 300 houses, you know.
Wasn't it a mix of townhouses and single family or
No,
something?
this one was single family. The one you're thinking of was on the Oxford.
Okay, that's
Auburn line.
why I'm
In
confused.
Auburn, it was all single family houses, but it was townhouses on the Oxford side.
Okay.
Sorry.
I mean, again, I look at this thing and go, I'm not sure that the town is in the real estate business, but it's nice protected open space
Mm-hmm.
for whatever it is. I don't see it as particularly useful for anything.
Yeah.
I mean, it's not one of my favorite roads to.
Well, I know it's
To
pretty narrow
access.
too.
Yeah, it's curvy too.
But you know, they were, if that development had come to be, they were gonna make improvements in Leicester Street.
Mm.
They were
Yeah,
gonna
and the
have to
bridge,
because of
too.
traffic.
Are they gonna do something underneath the bridge?
They had a whole,
Like a wire
plan,
somehow?
Cullinan Engineering, do you remember them?
Yes.
They had a whole plan for how they were going to address the bridge.
Hmm.
I mean, it's kind of limited with what you can do there because the railroad's not gonna change the bridge, but, yeah, but they did have a plan for improvements for there, so. So you don't think that this is something that could be sold? Probably not desirable because of the grades and because of no public utilities?
Oh,
People build houses with wells and septic systems.
Right,
We-
but the site cost might be, it might be,
It depends whether it perks or not, too, is the other.
right.
We could just say, you know, perhaps it's
Possibility?
a possibility and that's an investigation that happens.
Has to be examined further.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Mhm.
look into it.
Cause the frontage is interesting. It's there,
Yeah,
it has the width for right of way.
probably actually, if it was some of that was cleared out, it might have some really nice views too.
That's a good point.
You know,
Yeah.
that little, in the lower corner, there's there's sort of a plateau in there that,
Mhm.
it's 70, 80 feet above Leicester Street.
Yeah.
Some nice views from the old dump, too.
Well, if it wasn't for the tree line blocking it.
I'll cover it over anyway.
Okay.
all right, so why don't we, do we agree whether we need to look at this one further maybe?
I don't know if it's us that should look at it. I think
Right.
it's
Matt,
I
I'd
think it,
study.
Well, I think it's just, we're just an advisory
No, I
recommendation.
understand.
Mhm.
I-
But
I'm-
that would be the advisory of the group. It is
Right.
open space, so
But it might possibly be able to be sold for development.
yeah. So we mark it for that.
Possible sale, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's possible. I mean, like you said, we'd probably, depending on the site cost to develop it and the cost for infrastructure, that obviously could impact it.
Who would be interested?
Who would have thought they would have built?
Oh. Yes, you know,
one of the things that's up there is that, that quote mansion, that wasn't that big of a place.
I never saw it.
No.
I actually worked that fire, and
Oh, you did?
yeah, and the next day we went up there to get some equipment that had been abandoned because it, came through that top pretty quickly, and all was left was the foundation and the fireplace, but it really
Wow.
it was not an impressive structure. I think it was just the fact that it was up on top of a hill and
So obscure.
it had, a history to it that was
Yeah.
really.
Well, somebody
Obscure.
had said there was like a suspension bridge over a valley or something.
Well,
that
there's
you had
a
to use
bridge
to get
that you
to
had
it?
to go off, just off of Leicester Street. There was a bridge that you had to cross over a brook.
Ravine.
Yeah.
Yeah, there was a ravine, and I
Yeah.
think there was water in there too.
Uh-huh.
And that was a little scary. That
This
was,
is made of railroad ties.
yeah.
Like a trestle.
Yeah,
Yeah.
like a trestle.
Okay.
It's a little bizarre.
Trust me, yeah.
I had heard maybe where that was to like keep people out or something.
Maybe
I heard
just
he
get
was-
access.
The owner just really liked trains.
Yeah.
Oh, okay. Yeah. So did you have to take the fire trucks over there?
I don't know. We took brush trucks over. I don't remember if we took any full-size apparatus on there because it was a pretty steep ride up there, and it's single lane. There's nowhere to move to the side or anything like that.
Wow.
So I'm that's just enough years ago that I don't have a full picture of it.
Right.
Who owns that property now?
I don't know.
Same person who owned it before?
Wasn't that a big brush fire there, too?
That was the one, 2006.
Okay.
Okay, this property here is next to what, the Eddy Pond?
This is directly across from, up the street from Eddie Pond, directly across from Potter Hill Road.
Is it right near the boat ramp?
No, that's
No.
below the
It's across from
boat
Potter Farm Road.
Potter
Oh,
Farm
okay.
Road, yeah. And so Eddie Pond is here,
ramp. Yeah, where's the boat ramp?
boat ramp's here,
Okay. So that's north of the boat ramp, right?
and we're just north. And actually, the next two on the list, it's this parcel and this parcel, both owned by the town.
Did we
Both
get
tax
We
title.
did get that tax title. Okay.
Mhm. And they both have, obviously, frontage on South Street.
Right.
This looks like there's some kind of water path, perhaps, that's moving through there.
Uh, There's a house sandwiched in between them, right?
Right here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Just one. So if you took a bite out of it or something.
Yeah.
So they've got some pretty good frontage then.
How close is that to the pond?
The pond's in the back, right?
Yeah,
Right, here.
who owns that property in the back of it?
This
The
here,
pond? Yeah,
I believe that's the town of Auburn as well. Yep. So it butts town property here.
how come that's not listed?
Believe because it just contains Eddy Pond.
Oh, okay. The town owns Eddy Pond?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
6317. I'm just gonna.
That would be a nice place to walk around. I mean, that's a huge parcel of land, isn't there?
21.
I mean, the adjacent property that borders the pond, or the pond.
This and here.
Yeah, it'd be a great park. And there's already access to it because there's a Eddy Pond access road, right?
Right there is the access
Right there.
road. Yeah, so it's
Yeah, you could keep that separate than the other two parcels, right?
does it say over a million square feet?
A million square feet?
Can't see
That's
from
what it
here.
looks like, yeah.
Yeah. That
Isn't a lot of marshland there too?
It looks like hills, like a hill, fairly big hill.
yeah, it's kind of sloping down into the pond.
Mm.
Yeah,
So it's interesting that abuts, these
the two properties.
two properties here on South Street.
But those other two properties could have some commercial value. And
The ones that have the frontage.
Yes.
Yeah,
they
I
do.
would think.
Yeah.
I don't know what the terrain is like there though. I mean, it's wooded, I
Not too
believe.
bad.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's wooded. It looks like there's mild slopes.
Yeah.
I'd this little river stream. I don't know if that would create an issue with development, but probably not anything that couldn't be overcome.
I was gonna say, just because there might be a brook going through doesn't mean it might not be buildable,
Right,
Absolutely.
Let's see what kind of frontage this has.
Always build the bridge.
That's right, you can
I'm
always
over
build
it.
a bridge.
It's got 200 feet
Yeah.
in that parcel there.
What do you need in that area of town? What's the frontage requirement?
I think 180 feet.
So it's 200 feet in that larger one.
On the top, and then 427 on the more southerly parcel there.
So this one here's got 427 feet?
Yep.
Wow. And the other one's got 200?
Mm-hmm.
Maybe we should definitely consider that as a possible marketable one. Did you say that we took that for tax title?
It looks like that was taken in the early 80s, both of them.
So possible sale on both of them?
Well, I would think if we were gonna, I would think if we were gonna offer them for sale, I would think it might make it more desirable to have the two together. What do you think?
Definitely.
Yes, yeah.
I mean, if you join them, you do have that sort of horseshoe.
Right, you could come in one
Shaping.
side and come out the other.
Yeah.
I mean, this neighbor would probably hate us, but.
Right. But perhaps a number of houses could be carved out of there.
So like a small subdivision, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Now,
And again, public services, I mean,
is it out there?
there's no town water out. I don't think it goes out that far.
No, it doesn't go that
'Cause I know we don't have town water at my house.
How did they get town water in Potter Farms? Did they come off of the other?
They must have come off
Off
the
the
other
north
side.
side?
They must have.
Isn't there a fire road? Off Stone's Bridge or Stone?
There is, I think, but I don't know what. I mean, that just was probably from years and years ago.
Yeah.
Okay.
Next one is Oxford Street
Oxford
property,
Street South.
Yeah.
6 acres.
That's an interesting parcel too. It's very, it doesn't look all that deep, but it's very long.
Where's Oxford Street?
Yeah,
Oh, the
beaches.
one that runs close to 290 there, or
Yes,
So that's
395?
395, mm-hmm.
Yeah.
yeah, and this is the ledges here.
The what?
These are the ledges,
Oh, yeah.
major ledges.
Is that a steep grade there?
Yeah, that's very steep in there. And actually, that wind turbine sighting that we were talking about earlier is right up in here. A little test tower. So this is coming in, right behind
Yeah,
BJ's.
yeah. So it's right there, yeah.
It's an odd parcel,
It's partly water, isn't it, over there?
partly water, and it's sloping down towards the water,
Yeah.
Is that water though, that horseshoe there?
right in here.
There's some water there, yeah.
What is it, he's building, are they building? Oh, no, just markers.
hmm
Could you make those building lots along the way? Along that road?
think.
Are there sewers on Oxford Street?
I don't think so.
I don't think there's sewer or water out there.
Nothing?
No.
I don't know. Do you know, John?
I know way out there isn't.
No, that's still pretty close to Route 20, but
Yeah.
So we have a question as to whether there's public services.
Public services.
I really don't think so, but I could check, I'm sure.
Right. Yeah, I mean,
I think it could probably be, A&R, and I don't think you'd have to go through a subdivision process. And
Right, because you've got a lot of frontage.
yeah, you just carve it out based on the frontage and the area requirements, and maybe get 3 or 4 lots out of there.
What's the distance between here and here?
So that top part goes back 300 feet.
Yeah, well, that's got fairly good distance.
Yeah. 230 feet on the bottom.
There's a road that's down here someplace, right? Down further? Cuts into some sort of subdivision? Yeah, there it is.
Cedar Street.
There's a road up here, isn't it?
There's a little development in here.
Yeah.
Yeah. There's a side street there.
Yeah.
Looking at, it's surrounded by houses on both
Yeah,
sides.
Yes, I see that. How do these houses get to the road? Oh,
They're-
the road
they're
is-
right on it, yep.
Yeah, the road. on
This
it.
narrow strip here. So,
So those are possible A&R lots, easy
well,
ones,
yeah.
easy A&R lots.
Mm-hmm.
Moving along.
Okay.
295 Leicester Street.
Leicester Street. It's going back to where we were before, right?
Yep,
Yeah.
same road.
This is 5.5 acres.
And looks like it's also potential for some house lots.
Where was that in relation to the other one when you look on Leicester Street?
Let's see. Back out. Rochdale Street's up here.
Okay.
So the other one was further
Oh, yeah,
north. This
okay,
is,
yeah, okay.
yep, closer down to the,
But that's over by that pond, by that beach, wasn't there? Wasn't there a beach out
No.
there someplace?
That's down streetways, isn't it?
Yeah, Rotary Beach was on,
It's on Rochdale Street.
Okay.
Mhm.
yeah.
If you come under, if you're coming up and you come under, go under that bridge, the tin bridge they call it, you go to the right.
That's
And it's a
Rotary.
little further, it's a little bit down, on the right-hand side.
But if you go, if you didn't know where it is today, you wouldn't know it's there.
No, you wouldn't.
If you didn't
It's
know where it
all-
was,
It's all grown in.
yeah.
So the town owns this other property
Yes.
here? And the pond?
I don't know if the town.
That's Auburn Water District.
That's right,
Who owns that?
the Auburn Water District.
Oh,
We
Auburn?
wouldn't be able to keep, we
So,
wouldn't be
yeah,
able
it's not municipal.
Okay. That looks like a possible thing, isn't it?
Yeah, I think.
What's the elevation there? How many lines are there?
It doesn't, it's got some grade, but it's not
Yeah.
insurmountable.
Does it have sewers on Leicester Street?
I don't think
I don't
so.
think, no,
That's been the whole problem with that end of town.
there's no sewer or
There's
water
a
out
lot of
there.
open land over there, but there's no sewer and water. But, you know, Eric, how large is, that's 5.5 acres, but how much is on the street?
For frontage,
Yeah,
let's see if we can.
Gather that from this image.
is it half acre lots that's required over there? Or a full acre?
Bigger, wouldn't
Is it 1 acre?
it? Half acre with sewers.
Off the top of my head,
We probably should have grabbed a zoning map or something.
yeah, I could
I didn't think about it.
grab my zoning book real quick. Hi.
Hi.
Yeah. So I'll just see what zone this is in. It's an RB.
All very good. Just give me a moment while I pull up the dimensional table.
Yeah, that's okay. Can we get this from tax title too?
Purchases open land, existing trails, residential lots possible.
Okay, so an RB, you need 100 feet of frontage and 20,000 square foot lot
So
minimum.
it's a half acre.
Half acre, right?
And 100 feet of frontage.
Yep,
And how much, did you notice how much we had for frontage here?
It's like 40 plus 625. So 665.
665?
Yeah, 665.
5.5 acres, I mean, I guess, is that
So it has to be 100 feet of frontage per lot, right?
100 feet of frontage? Yeah,
Right.
so potential for 6
6
lots,
lots.
it seems like. Looking at it from those
Yeah, I mean,
parameters.
at least it's a pretty, you know, square, rectangular rather.
Mm-hmm.
It doesn't have any strange jogs or. So possible, sale.
Mm-hmm.
Excuse me, Ian, is there going to be a chance for public comment or questions?
There will be,
Okay.
yep.
Tonight?
Mm-hmm.
Okay,
We always have public comment on our agenda.
great, thank you.
Yep.
Okay.
So 40 Arrowhead Ave.
Now, that affects the pipe, right?
And a very steep incline. I mean, it's not, the lots aren't that steep, but it falls off very quickly.
Yeah, it's quite some drop there, isn't it?
At the end of it,
Yeah.
there's a fence there.
Yeah, you can see that drop off.
Where is that? Let's see.
It's right over here.
Oh.
So your Central Street,
Here's the cemetery.
there's right here.
Okay. Oh, wow, okay.
So the other side of St. Joe's and then up at the top of Arrowhead.
What's this here? This is,
So that, let's see. That's also owned by the town of Auburn.
must be another piece that's on the list further on, huh?
Yeah, it's probably further down.
This looks like a swamp land.
4116.
Now it's highlighted together on this sheet.
Oh yeah, you're right. They are.
So is that
On the
this one?
sheet, yes, yeah.
So how does that road end? Is it just end?
Just like it's a dead end, I think.
Yeah.
Just stops.
There's quite some drop there.
I wonder if this might have been, well, no, it's an older subdivision, so it couldn't have been an open space. I was thinking maybe they gave this land to the town, but
Hmm.
I don't think that they had the,
That was tax title.
it was taxed on?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Looks like it was something that they didn't develop, although it,
It does, the way that that's kind of tapered
yeah.
there at the end.
Do you think maybe it was gonna be part of a subdivision or something, if for some reason they didn't finish?
Looks like that could be the case.
And the houses around there are all,
Old houses.
They're
they're
older.
old, they're old and they're individually built. It doesn't look like a subdivision as we know
No,
it today.
no.
Right.
And the only access is off of Arrowhead too, so.
Right.
Yeah, you're pinched in with the turnpike.
I wonder if any of it could be used though.
What was that? Right there, 24.
So that's privately owned.
Uh,
Yeah, so the town owns these two properties here.
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if you could create, you could probably do a couple houses in there, or, you know, perhaps it could be a little neighborhood park. You know,
Are
at
those
the end of a
quarter
dead
acre
end
lots over
street.
there? Those are small ones, I think.
They are
Are they
the
RR?
dimensional, I believe it's RA.
RA.
Requirement is 10,000 square
10,000
feet.
square feet, so they're quarter acre lots.
So there must be sewers in that area.
I
And
believe
water.
so.
I would think.
I mean, it's not a whole lot of acreage, 3 point,
Yeah, but you could sell it, right? You get some tax
2.4
money.
there.
but you could. Well, if they're quarter acre lots, yeah, you can probably fit a few, right?
I'm not sure you would know this, Eric, but, you know, in a town that has very limited amount of buildable lots, these things are all on record, you know, and I'm sure that the developers have come in here and looked through these books over the years and looked for property they can use. And yet, every single one of these has remained
Unbought.
unbought.
Mhm.
And I don't know if there's an answer to that, but it's always a question of curiosity. And again, I'll restate, I have nothing against open space.
Yeah.
You know, I mean, if there's an advantage to the town selling something, that's fine.
Mhm.
But I think we also need to, and I, as a group, we're not concerned with the other side of it, but,
Mhm.
you know, when you sell a property and 2 houses get built and then we educate 6 kids, it's a losing proposition for the town.
Right.
So-
Whatever you make
And taxes.
in revenue from the sale of the property is
It's-
eventually going to be eaten.
Right,
Yeah.
right. Now, I mean, that's progress in a way,
Mhm.
but, and I'm not saying that we shouldn't do that, but that's always in my head.
Well, I think what originally precipitated this entire situation, or our being here, was because one selectman was curious as to, we have a number of these parcels and they just kind of sit. And the thought was, could they be put to better use? Should they just be kept open space? Should they just, could they be used for, we hear a lot about the need for more fields, for soccer and stuff. Could any of them be used for that?
Sure.
Or could some of them, not that we're gonna sell everything, because I don't wanna do that, but could some of them, if they have existing frontage on a public way and they meet the lot sizes, could some of them be sold so that the town could have some revenue from the sale plus get them back on the tax rolls? But I mean, I see your point too, to the other side of it,
Well, I look at, in this particular parcel, the frontage on the street is actually tiny.
Yeah,
You know,
you have to
it's-
extend the road.
You
You have to
Yeah, you
extend the
have to
road
see streets,
and
yeah.
curve that around
And create
and
frontage.
create
Right.
property, which, that's something to be done.
Mhm.
Well, you know what this reminds me of? You know that Regis Drive and Bryn Mawr,
Mhm.
over off of Bryn Mawr? That was a subdivision that was started, I believe it was in the 40s, and it was never finished.
Okay.
And then 3 or 4 years ago, it was acquired by a developer, and that's what they've been doing over there, is building out those lots from that old subdivision
Mhm.
from back 60 years ago. And that's exactly what they did. They extended some of the roads and put in more houses. That's exactly what I was thinking as I was looking at this. I'm like, it almost looks like that subdivision, for whatever reason, was never finished off of Regis Drive, and it almost kind of looks like this one didn't get finished either.
Maybe they ran out of money.
Yeah. And then we say subdivision, we all think about houses being very similar today, but, I don't think years ago, when they developed houses, they weren't necessarily similar.
Yeah, I'm not sure if it was done necessarily the way it is today, where, a
And Old
developer
Cart
comes
Road, for
in.
example, that gentleman that owned that, he spent his entire life developing Old Cart Road.
He do a couple house lots each
Every
year.
year. Him and then as his sons grew up, they helped him out, and he just recently retired. But I mean, those houses don't look alike at all.
Mhm.
But it's the same person that, over like 40 years, 45 years, he has built up that road.
Mhm.
So I mean, sometimes it's not what we think of as a typical subdivision that we all see today.
Right.
So is this another possible sale?
Somebody mentioned a local park, a neighborhood park. I kind of like that idea.
Well, the only thing about that is that it wouldn't serve that many people. That's not it's not a big neighborhood.
No, well, there's quite a few houses in there.
Well, but
You know,
you gotta look
houses
at the
like
age of
Church
kids
Street.
and
The thing
remember
is-
there's, right here, we have a park.
Maybe
Yeah.
back of us.
So-
Well, how long is that going to stay there when it becomes town hall offices?
Well, that's not,
Well, that's
That's
not a
not-
given yet either,
Yeah,
so
we
we don't know. But
yeah.
well, pardon me. I mean, I wouldn't be opposed to it being a park, but I wouldn't be opposed to looking at it further. I mean, maybe you didn't sell it all, but maybe you sold it. But again, the cost of extending a roadway, the planning board's going to require.
Sidewalks.
Right, they're gonna require. Am I wrong? I'm sorry. Today, if you extend a road, don't you have to put in drainage and sidewalks and all those things?
Lights. Street lights.
I believe, yes. It would require sidewalks, would likely require, not necessarily require tying to town utilities, but I would think that'd be encouraged.
You'd have to have catch basins and for the stormwater.
Yeah. So, but we wouldn't, the town wouldn't necessarily do that, it just would be, putting this out to market if that were the.
Right. But those kinds of
option.
needs are gonna affect the possibility
The
of selling
cost,
it,
yeah. And how many houses can a developer get
Right.
out of that? How
To
much
make it
can they
worth their
sell
while,
them to make
right.
it, yeah,
Right.
to make it worth their
Because if it's
while.
gonna cost them a bundle to, I mean, I forget how much it is per square, per foot
Mhm.
to pave a
Of
road. What's it gonna cost for infrastructure? And what can they, are they gonna net a profit or not?
Right.
I don't know.
I think we can just say that that's a possible use for that.
Yeah.
Even if somebody didn't want to develop it, one of those abutters may want to buy it just to
Make
add
their land,
property.
yeah, that's another thing too, I don't know.
That is, it is true, you don't know, what could happen once you kind of put it to
Put it
market.
up for sale.
Yeah,
Right, somebody may decide that they'd rather buy the property and make their own
Yeah,
holding larger and
Mhm.
avoid having a neighbor,
yeah.
you know?
Mm.
So that's a possibility too. Do you want to include on there the possibility of some kind of a park for the neighborhood? I mean, maybe not the whole 3 acres, but maybe, I mean, I don't know how you would configure in there, I'm not,
Yeah.
I'm not good at envisioning lot layouts, you know?
Mm.
I personally don't think there's that much space there to do that. I mean, parks
Yeah, lots of
are
space.
extremely expensive to build anything that has, if you're thinking like a playground,
Yeah.
I mean,
Oh, I know, I'm astonished at what it costs for
That
that
happens,
playground, oh my God.
Well, like a little baseball field, would that be, is that like a
Or like a
big
basketball court,
undertaking?
or,
Yeah,
everything is expensive,
yeah.
no matter what you do.
It obviously would have to be cleared and graded for those
Right.
purposes
Right.
as well.
I think just put out to market.
I mean, I think the issue here is that when you talk about use of something, what's the impact on the neighborhood? What's,
Right.
okay, you put
Yeah.
let's say there was a Little League field put into a space like that. The people on Arrowhead Ave are gonna have
They have-
non-stop
It's gonna
traffic.
change,
yeah, they'd have our hides.
it'll change the nature of the neighborhood.
I mean, I think
Right.
there's, in looking at the couple of parcels that we've looked at, as far as if you're thinking in terms of recreation space, I think the parcels on South Street might meet that criteria. It's not flat, but it's not a huge grade difference, and there's plenty of space. The biggest issue, in my experience with youth sports, is to build a field and there's not enough parking. They have a formula for how many cars you need, but what they don't understand is that every time, if you have a game at 9 and a game at 10:30,
You've got
there's that
overlap.
transition time
Yeah.
when there's no parking,
Right.
and that's when
That's a big
things
problem.
get crazy.
Mhm.
Okay, I mean, that's a good parcel, and I think the Leicester Street, the 295 Leicester Street, I think that's all wooded now,
I
but
think it is.
again, it looks fairly flat, and that might be an area. It's got access from 2 directions. Leicester Street's a slow street. You can't possibly drive fast on that street.
You could try.
Well, you end up in a tree.
They are very close to the street there in places.
Oh, I know.
Man, very close,
But,
like the tree just jumps out at you. But when you say neighborhood park, I mean, you may not necessarily mean a Little League field.
I wasn't
You might be
thinking
talking
in terms
about-
of Little League field, no.
You mean like a swing set?
Swing sets and, things that kids can, big sandbox, But you would have to check out how many children are in the neighborhood too, and the potential of keeping young children in the neighborhood.
Mhm.
If they're all gonna grow up and go away, then there's no
Yeah,
point,
and it becomes
you
a,
know? Yeah,
an aged
sure.
neighborhood then.
I mean, I don't know what the use would be in there. I just don't see it as a big. It's not a big neighborhood.
Yeah.
The houses are fairly tight.
Close to the street, aren't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, they
Yeah.
are. And
And
then,
what about like a dog park or, that's something that comes up.
Again, you got to, in terms of neighborhood
Parks.
impact, if a town was to actually put in a dog park, which I'm not opposed to the idea, but look at the issues in Worcester in the last couple of months. How many people are going to be coming from other communities into Auburn to use that type of a facility? And I'm not saying that that's not okay, but what's the impact on our community if we were to do
to
that?
do that.
It-
I'm sorry, and if you located something like that, cars would have to go, everybody would have to go through that neighborhood to get to that parcel. I mean, it's kind of like the neighborhood would be overwhelmed. I mean, we don't have a dog park, so if we made a dog
Yes.
park out of that,
Right.
then, I can I don't know. I don't think the neighbors that live there would be too thrilled
No.
if all of a sudden they had streams of cars coming through.
Probably the lowest impact is to have, if that road was extended and there were 4 or 5 single-family houses, that's gonna have virtually no impact on the neighborhood, because
Right.
that's just
10,
not a
20
lot of
car
traffic,
trips a
it's a
day.
few
Right.
kids, it's not a bad thing,
Mhm.
if that's appropriate for the land. And I don't know who makes those types of decisions.
Mm.
But again, to date, no one's bought it, so.
Right. You have
Yeah,
a good
well,
point.
it's also not for sale. You know, that was the other thing I was thinking. Well, it's like maybe a two-sided coin. Like this was a tax title
Taken in 2013.
Mhm.
So the owner apparently didn't find the value in paying didn't find the land valuable enough to pay their taxes on it.
Yeah.
You know, and so now the town acquires it. Does that mean that the land is just not valuable?
Mhm.
It wasn't on market before because the person wasn't actively
Mhm.
caring for the land. So it is,
So we've only had this for a couple of years.
yeah.
That
But
was
some of
lean
them,
times too.
Yeah.
Right, exactly. But these South Street parcels we've had since 81 and 82.
Wow.
And
Shocking.
And it's, you know, is it just that the town hasn't been cognizant of the fact that we've had this land and it has the potential,
For
you
sale.
know, for
I don't
for
think anyone's
sale?
really focused on it really, but you know, to your point, you're absolutely right, because I know for a fact that certain developers, they pore over the assessor's maps looking for,
Would a
Paper
developer
streets.
approach the town and say, I'm interested in this parcel, you know,
right.
if they see that it's town owned and it's,
But I mean, that's how we've ended up with small little subdivisions tucked in the back
Hmm.
of larger parcels. Because somebody realized that there was a right of way there, and they figured out that they could put a little short road in with a cul-de-sac, and all of a sudden you got, 4 or 5 houses, like on Erica Lane, for example. You know, that's how that came to be. But, people that are developers they know what they're looking for.
mm,
You know, and maybe these parcels were considered more costly for site preparation, maybe that's why. You know, now these lots here, I think they have town services, whereas the ones on South Street, I know they don't have water, I don't know about sewer, but Leicester Street doesn't have either. So maybe that's why they haven't been,
Leicester Street doesn't have town water,
I don't
the
think
tank is
so.
right there. It's almost across the street from this property, up on the hill.
I wonder if it's,
maybe they have water, but they don't have sewer. I don't
yeah,
know.
at the next meeting, we
We'll
have
try to find out.
a staff version of this site. And we'll have that pulled up so that we can see the sewer lines
Okay, all right.
and that sort of thing as well. Could be helpful.
So what did we decide on this, Arrowhead?
Possibly marketing it, I think?
Yeah. Yes.
Now, that's 2 separate entries, right?
It's 2 separate parcels.
Yeah. So this entry is just for that large piece, right?
Yeah,
Well, it could, I mean,
So
if you
that-
put a road in,
It could go all the way
Yeah, but
over.
that other one, where is that other one listed? On the one,
I briefly scanned that
next page?
4116, I
No, it's not the next page.
didn't necessarily see it. Oh yeah, 4116, it's about halfway down the second page, it says Central Street.
41 what?
16?
16, Central Street, abuts Arrowhead property, and it's just under an acre.
7-9?
Mm-hmm.
and has a $4,000 value because it's landlocked. It's got, I mean, if you were to,
If you had a
if
road,
you
Join it
sold,
together.
if you used those 2 parcels
Right.
together,
Yeah.
and you had a road that went through that
True,
narrow
right.
space, it would
Yeah.
be fine.
Right.
yeah. I mean, it would be even more marketable if this just came straight across and you didn't have this pinch because,
Right,
I agree.
then you could just send a road straight back and
right.
have houses down
Well,
the
see where
side.
that little pinch, as you call it?
Mhm.
How wide is that, do you know? Can you tell?
Yeah.
That'd be a couple hundred feet, right?
He at least what, 50, 55?
65 feet. You need-
It's 65?
yeah.
So you can road through there, right?
Yep.
Mhm.
Yep.
I don't know what's going on back there.
It almost looks like that
It's a bald
marshland
spot.
up there in the other one, the other smaller piece.
In here?
No, no, the other one. Oh, yeah. Yeah.
Could be, I can't.
So,
So, I think we should, it could be worth, it could merit further exploration, what do you think?
Absolutely.
Okay, the next one is what, 423 South?
Yeah. And 3 Old Millbury, is that Old Millbury Street or Old Millbury Road? I know it says Old Millbury Street on here, but I was kind of thinking that was Old Millbury Road.
Those look like perfect candidates for a possible sale. mean,
I know.
Great frontage, great size.
And it's interesting how, I mean, it's 2 separate lots on two streets, but
Yeah,
they share a huge border.
yeah. Yeah, somebody.
Would it be all industrial?
I don't think so.
No, not out there.
Oh, no, oh, I'm thinking closer to, okay.
I mean, they're adjacent,
Between.
This is on the Millbury line almost.
Okay,
well, adjacent parcels on either side are about the same size, right?
Mhm.
Yep.
Yeah. Curious to see,
The second entry, what is that second, are they both combined? No. Oh yeah, the next one down, they skipped one location, right? One is .94 and the other one's 1.03, right?
Yeah.
Is this RB also?
this is RR,
RR.
it appears. Yeah, it's got 160 feet of frontage. RR requires 180 feet.
Oh,
so it doesn't make the,
Really?
so
could you get a variance?
typically you can only get a variance on dimensional if you can show hardship of the land.
On the
And
way to south, yeah.
yeah,
There's a possibility that it was carved out, pre-exist zoning, and there's a possibility for grandfathering, but we'd have to look into that, into the
the
I mean,
ownership.
they seem like perfect lots, don't they? They're short by 20 feet.
yeah,
that's why they probably never built on.
I
Well,
guess
so
The old
that's
Millbury
probably,
Road
yeah,
was
you know.
30% wetlands.
Now the other one is big enough, right?
Which
Well,
one? One of these is 30% wetland?
The 3 Old Millbury Road, 30% wetlands.
How do we come to own these through tax title too?
Yep.
so,
Old Millbury.
what is that for frontage? 200 feet.
Yeah. What's that line that goes diagonally across it?
This line here,
Yeah.
that's a contour line.
Oh.
So, it's a pretty flat lot.
So Old Millbury,
Three
That
Old
one has-
Millbury is
that one has 200 feet, you said?
200 feet of frontage. Yeah, I don't know where that 30% wetlands came from, but that,
Depending on where it is, could.
It could be developable.
Could be developable. Mhm.
What's the lot size in that area?
You need 60,000 square feet.
That's like an acre and a half. With 180 feet of frontage.
With 180 feet of frontage.
So one lot is 20 feet short, but the other one is big enough.
Yes, so,
Yeah, but it's only 0.94 acres.
Oh,
yeah, but
could you combine the two of them together?
you
Make
could
one big
combine
lot?
them. Yeah, we own them both.
Have one of them's got enough frontage on a public way to build, right? So if you put the two of them together, it would meet the square footage size.
Mhm. Yeah, you probably, because this doesn't have the frontage here,
Right.
then yeah, you could do, combine, you could just do one house.
Right.
Or you could do it, there's potential for two-family, because you'd
To do a
probably
duplex?
have the area for a two-family.
Mm-hmm. Are there any other two families around there, do you know?
Says that you need 80,000 square feet if it's unsewered in the RR. I don't know if it's sewered back there. You know, I think it's all single-family down in that area.
Yeah, I think you're right. And I don't know about the Silvers area though. That's pretty out there.
But could investigate the combination of those two, 423 and 3.
How's the slope out there? Is that steep?
Looks pretty
He said it looks pretty flat.
Okay.
Relatively flat.
Right. It's all relative, right?
You might, from one corner to the other, you're looking at a 20-foot change in grade, which is not really much to get excited about.
From one side, yeah.
You know, from the farthest
Yeah.
northeast corner to the south, northwest corner to the southeast.
Is it possible sale of both those?
I think we're gonna look at putting them together maybe. See if it's feasible.
Right.
Because, you know, if one of them has 30% of wetlands, but if you put them together,
Yeah, it
there
might,
might be a way around that.
exactly.
What's the one in between Elmwood Street? What is that? It's an acre?
Yeah.
Which one is that?
One in between the two listings.
Oh, the corner there?
Well, I don't know if it's a quarter.
So, it looks like a long,
Oh,
long skinny parcel.
it's not even on any map, is it? Oh, wait a minute, that's,
Yeah, so this is Southbridge Street.
Oh, I know where it's, yeah, that's where the hill is.
Where are we at now?
We don't have.
We don't have a map of this. either.
Oh,
It's,
okay.
it goes between Southbridge Street and
The
Elmwood
South
Street.
Street and the
Yeah.
Zollberry Road, Elmwood
Oh,
Street is right
okay.
in between them, but we don't have a
where's that
picture.
actually?
It's near the Elmwood line.
Yep,
It runs between Elmwood Street and
so
South.
Worcester's up there.
Yeah,
And then you come down Southbridge Street, you can
yeah.
take a left up Elmwood Street, and it's right in the
It's a,
intersection there.
yeah.
Already built 3 new
Mine-
houses.
Where the,
Yeah, where are those
Yeah.
3 new houses at,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
No, way down.
That parcel
Oh,
is
is
this a road
closer
here,
to
Elmwood
South
Street?
Street.
This is Elmwood Street here.
Yeah.
Parcel is
And
showing
what was
close-
this here?
very close to Southbridge Street.
that business?
Why has that property had for sale signs on it for several years now?
This one up here?
Yes,
The big old house, is that what you're referring to? That
No.
big old house
in front of it.
in front of it?
Maybe there was an old lounge or something like that.
That's been sold. It's all
But
been sold.
that whole stretch of parcel goes all the way
Used to be
down
the
to the
Grace-
beginning of Elmwood.
Grace Electrical was on the corner there.
On Elmwood, yeah.
Yeah. But on the Southbridge Street side, it's a big hill.
It is actually, it's pretty steep.
Steep hill on the Southbridge side.
Because that one property next to the lounge has, you know, the back of that property is quite steep if I remember right.
Yeah, it is.
But further up Elmwood Street, they just built 3 big
Oh, I know.
houses that
I know.
backyard
no
goes straight
backyard.
down, so.
Yeah.
Yeah, right.
They'll be buying goats to do their lawn.
Anyway.
So, I mean, that's not really even a marketable or anything. It's just,
Town
It's
is, they
there.
bought.
Yeah.
I don't think you, well, it's amazing way for houses today.
So this is the one that I believe has the sale sign on it, correct? And they've got a steep little hill out right in front of his shop,
yeah.
where that is, and then it's the wooded parcel here.
Is that what we're talking about?
Yeah.
How deep is that?
Not that, I don't think it's that deep.
What was the address on that one?
It's 20 Elmwood
20
Street.
Elmwood.
20 on
It's really funny because it's all in Southbridge.
Right. 70 feet there.
There used to be a lounge on South
Yeah, it's,
Street.
no.
50
what's the-
feet.
Is that
It's
one
not
that
really
building
wide.
that's like really close to Southbridge Street?
Yeah, they're kind of renovating it right now.
Yes.
You're thinking of Herbie's?
No, it's not Herbie's, no.
No,
Yes.
I know where you mean.
Right next to the bank.
There's like yeah, right next to the credit
First,
union.
First Federal Credit Union
Right.
is there.
Right,
And then
okay.
there's that old lounge, I forget the name of it.
I know where you mean, okay.
And then there's that house next to the
Sits
lounge.
back out, further in the
Yeah.
back.
It's
There's the
a
one-
huge driveway in the front, yeah, or parking lot.
You could sell it to Polar Beverages across the street and park more tractor trailers there.
No, it's been, actually, it has been sold to a person, to a developer, or somebody.
This one, this lot right below, like right below it, is that?
20 Elmwood has been sold?
Yeah.
The town sold it?
No, this is the one that's, not the town land, the one next to it.
The one next to it,
Oh,
where the
oh, oh.
lounge
Where
is.
the lounge used to be.
Okay.
What lounge was that?
No,
Royal?
no.
No, it wasn't the Royal Lounge.
What's the one that's on Shrewsbury Street? They just reopened.
Wonder Bar?
Wonder Bar, that's it. The old Wonder Bar.
There was a Wonder Bar in Auburn?
Yeah, right there. That little bar. That used to be a bar right
That's
there.
right, there was one there, yeah.
Yeah, Wonder Bar. Yeah.
It closed about the time I moved to town. that's all I
Yeah. It
know.
closed a long time.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
They
30.
great sandwiches there, right?
Yeah, they did.
Yeah.
I didn't know we had a Wonder Bar in
I
Auburn.
didn't know we
Yep.
did that.
Peter was the guy. Wasn't it Peter?
Yeah, I think so. Yeah, they just sold it all.
So I guess the question on a piece of property like that is, what does is there anything the town can do with it, or just let it be?
Right.
I think it'd just be open space.
Could put it up for sale. I mean, could then somebody put a lot in there and like a,
I don't
I
think
think you have awful drop in the back.
Yeah, you couldn't meet setbacks.
Mhm.
No, it's narrow and long.
Yeah, with the setbacks requirement, you'd have no developable land. So it is appears to be pretty useless,
how did we get
except for
it?
maybe a parking lot.
Yeah, how did we get it? You know?
Tax title.
That too?
Mm-hmm.
So, yeah, just
I mean, at some point, people don't pay their taxes on something that
Abandoned.
has no value.
abandoned land, right?
Why are you going to pay taxes on a sliver of property that's got no use?
You wonder if it ever went with another parcel of property or something?
I think maybe across the street there, that big White House. That's for sale now, maybe.
I don't know.
I don't know. That's an old house.
It is. Because there was a pump across the street that they went across the street to get their water.
No.
There's a hand pump over there.
You suppose that was part of the property and before they put the road through? And that putting the road through divided their property?
It could have been, yeah.
And that's how it ended
Oh,
up being.
Southbridge Street versus Old Southbridge Street or something?
No, Elmwood Street.
Oh, Elmwood Street.
Yeah, the
okay.
big White House on Elmwood Street is across from that.
Oh.
It almost looks like the road probably divided
Oh, maybe,
the original farm property.
so maybe they moved the road.
Maybe they could extend the memorials, remember the Veterans Memorials? All the way up the line.
Put another
Another
monument on
park?
there. There you go, put a monument on it.
Yeah,
Seems about the only recommendation you might be able to get for it.
Monument.
Got it.
for the Gulf War. Gonna bring that up next meeting, the veterans, next Monday.
Do you think we should move on to the agenda?
Yeah, I was just looking at my watch because I didn't know, did you want to go through the rest of the ones that we had the photos on? Because I know you have some open space plan updates that Matt had wanted us to just be distributed tonight. I'm sure we're going to need to review them.
Yeah, there
I
isn't
know
anything for
general ones.
distribution yet.
Oh, there's nothing? to do?
No, it's
Oh,
just,
okay, he asked me to put it on the agenda, so I did.
just a brief, let you guys know that we're working on it.
All right,
Yeah.
okay. Well, do you want to finish this grouping here?
It's up to you.
I mean, we've been trying to hold them to like an hour. We've been at this for an hour and 25 now.
Yeah,
So maybe we could just finish up these and have public comment.
sure. What's the next one on your list?
199.
Because
199 Packagug Street?
Apparently, this is why this list is, the question I asked at the beginning of the meeting?
Yes, why?
These are all the ones that we have the handouts
Right,
for.
except
that
for 20
they-
Elmwood.
Right, except for that one. But I don't know how you guys feel, but when we meet and talk about this stuff, and I know there's some expense in the town making
Yeah,
these,
I know, but this is helpful.
this is extremely useful to us, to
Yes.
have the smaller maps and draw the relationships of things.
Mhm.
I think to give it a proper evaluation, it would be nice to have those.
Sure.
Especially for some of these larger parcels, you know, you can get a better feel for it and,
So I think if, you know, with that, if the board would, I mean, the committee would want to request that, perhaps we could, you know, just break them up into chunks of, you know,
so many to
Lots
look
of-
so
at
many to look at.
at a meeting, yeah.
Right. You know, how many are in this packet here?
I mean, we can, if you wanna leave these last three till the next meeting, we could do
Well,
that
it's
too.
just we're starting to push on time. So.
Yeah, so,
Yeah, I
you
think
wanna
we-
do that? Okay, so you wanna leave these last three
Yes.
Yeah.
till the next
Okay.
meeting? All right,
Sure.
all
There are
right.
citizens here.
So, I think that was productive.
Yeah, I do too, I feel better about
Mm-hmm.
the progress here.
Yeah.
So the only thing on open space plan updates is that you guys are working. Matt said he was hoping to have some things ready to go by the end of the year to go into the state.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, we've tackled the first 2 comments on the letter. I mean, there are, I think, about 9 comments on that
Yeah, I
letter.
think so.
And we've just gone through and edited the first 7 sections, so just looking for consistency and doing
Yeah.
some updates. So we're going to continue to keep pushing through that.
Okay.
Mhm.
So when you have something, you'll pass it along for us?
Absolutely.
Okay, great.
Yep.
All right, so the next item on the agenda is public comment.
Thank you. Peter Quinn, Precinct 2. I apologize if I come across poorly tonight, but I was watching from home and I have a few comments to make on this process. I'm a lifelong resident of Auburn, and I'm kind of shocked at some of the discussions that I've been hearing tonight. I think you made some very good points, actually, though, during the meeting. And a few years back, similar type discussions came up before the selectmen, where they were looking at a dozen properties throughout town. I went before the selectmen, spoke to them. I know there was a parcel down on, and I didn't see the beginning of your meeting, but it was a large parcel down off of South Oxford Street behind Coachman Lane. There was another large parcel up off of Rockland Road. And these were buffer zones that were developed, you know, when these residential developments went in 40, 50, 60 years ago.
Yep.
And the selectmen, like you are tonight, came up with a list and said, let's just auction all this property off. You know, it's like, well, why was it developed, you know, 40, 50 years ago and preserved as buffer zones for these neighborhoods? And now, 50 years later, that's all gone and forgotten. And now the town's going to sell it off to somebody, Joe Schmo off the street, for $20,000. What benefit is that to the town of Auburn? They were looking at half-acre lots down off of South Street, Old Common Road, and so forth that you're looking at tonight that you needed 1 acre to build on, or lots that have been perked 20 different times over 20 years and never passed a perk test and couldn't be built on.
And that may very well be, but we don't know.
Well, exactly, but you're spending an hour tonight, an hour another night, to just look at something off a sheet, not going out there, not seeing the topography, not talking to the neighborhoods, not seeing the property yourselves. Is it a cliff? Is it, you know, abutting I-290 that you can't do
Well,
anything
that's-
with?
But
Yeah, well, I realize that, but what can you see without going out there yourself to the end of Arrowhead Drive and seeing that it might drop off? I don't know, you know, for certain. But you're the Open Space Committee. You should be looking at creative ways to save and preserve open space here in the town of Auburn. To maybe sell some of these lots to the church next door with a permanent easement deed restriction, so that land continues to be open and undisturbed space. We just got through purchasing the, you know, 30, 40 acres, whatever it is, at the end of Curtis Street from the post-cutting family.
almost 50 acres, 49.
And how many millions of dollars are we spending? $3 million. So we're gonna sell off 20 parcels of land for $500,000. And in 2 years, when the Post and Cuttings want to sell the land on Millbury Street, the farmer's daughter, to develop it into 100 house lots, so that the town can go out and spend $5 or $10 million to preserve that open space. And here you are tonight, selling off 50 little pieces, an acre here, 2 acres there, that could never be, that doesn't have the road frontage, that couldn't be perked. Are we supposed to pave over all these lots? Are we supposed to turn them into used car lots in town? Why don't you just rezone it all into industrial land and build metal buildings, prefab buildings like we've got all over town? This town is, I love this town. I've lived here all my life. I hate driving through it because it's one McDonald's, one Dunkin' Donuts, one used car parking lot all over the place. And then we go out and spend $3 million to buy 50 acres of land on Curtis Street. And we've got all these parcels of land at our fingertips. And you in an hour can make a recommendation, let's just go out and sell this land and be done with it.
Well,
And communities all across this state and this country are trying to save land, preserve land, come up with creative ways to save it so that not every square inch. What about, nature and wildlife? You were on the Conservation Committee, for how many years did you dedicate to that board?
25 years.
25 years. And now you realize what some of these properties have for wetlands, rivers, streams, everything else, what wildlife it might support, what buffers it might, none of these properties are in my backyard. I could care less. But they're in somebody's backyard.
Right.
And you willy-nilly in an hour are recommending that the Board of Selectmen consider selling a land instead of thinking of creative ways to save it and preserve it. You're the Open Space Committee. You might as well call yourselves, let's pave over Auburn and turn it into a used car lot committee. I mean, again, my blood pressure is boiling here because some of these discussions. You're the Open Space Committee. You were formed because of the land that we're buying on Curtis Street. Why are we in one hand spending $3 million to buy all this open space on Curtis Street and then washing our hands of all the open space that we do have? Granted, we should be cataloging this, realizing what we have, looking at what benefits they give to the entire community, whether it's an individual neighborhood, whether it could be sold to an abutter, like I said, with a deed restriction, so it never get developed, whatever it might be. That's what you should be focusing on, not saying, oh yeah, let somebody else buy it and they can't develop it and then it becomes tax title in 20 more years. I just don't think that this is the right process.
I appreciate your comments. For myself, I'm just going to tell you what my take is on this. You know that I sat on the Conservation Commission a very long time, and nobody has had more blood, sweat, and tears over the years over some of the things that have happened here in our community.
Yes.
And but sometimes when things meet regulation, there's not a lot you can do. For me, the reason why I agreed to sit on this committee was because a selectman, we all know, those of us that have served on land use boards, planning board, zoning board of appeals, conservation commission, we all know that there's a lot of town-owned parcels out there that some of them have just been sitting for a very long time and not used for anything. And as John and I both feel, and Louise too, that's not necessarily a bad thing. There are some folks that think open space means you've got to have something on it, and that's not necessarily true. And we're not willy-nilly, believe me. We're only looking at these parcels, these specific parcels right now, making some ideas, some recommendations to explore them further. We're not ready to make recommendations to the Board of Selectmen right now. But the thing is, as far as the South Old Road property goes, yeah, $3 million for 49-point-something acres. It's a lot of money.
It is. And what could we get from selling these at auction?
And you know
pennies compared to
but
that.
you know what concerns me too, more than that, is you make an excellent point about what's going to happen when the rest of the post property goes up for sale. What's going to happen when what's gonna happen when other 61A property comes up for sale? Like the Martin Brothers Piggery property
Mhm.
that goes
Right.
a lot, 300 acres of it is in Oxford,
Right.
but a sizable portion of it is in Auburn. And
They were talking about wanting to build a casino, and that was on the table
Right,
years ago.
but years ago, I had
Yeah.
heard a local developer had said that there was sufficient room on that property to build 400 houses.
Mhm.
That's
Well, you were
huge.
talking about one land at the end of Leicester Street that had gone before the
That's
planning
right.
board for,
It started
you
out
know,
as 300
200
houses and then it
right.
was down to 2.
yeah,
But the point is that we're just trying to really brainstorm about what we can do, what we should do. But Central Mass Regional Planning Commission, and maybe, I don't know if you can speak to that or not, but I know that the town is working with Central Mass Regional Planning to do a study right now on the impact of the sale of 61 and 61A properties. 61 is land that's been in forestry use,
mhm,
and 61A is land that's been in agricultural use. CMRPC is looking at what would happen if those properties came up for sale. The worst case scenario for the development of them, how that would impact the community. Not only on the schools, I mean, everybody automatically thinks about the schools, but there's traffic concerns.
right.
Can you imagine if there was 300 or 400 houses on Leicester Street,
Mhm.
or 300 or 400 houses over
Yeah.
up at Eddy Street?
And like you said, and the burden it would place on our
Right.
school systems and
Right,
and
and
things
we
like
need to
that.
figure-
I've been on different boards here in town.
I know you
I
have.
was on the police station construction committee. When we want to go and build a new police station or a new fire station or a new library,
We have no-
whatever it
yeah.
might be, that we can't find the
We
amount of
can't
space.
find any land, right.
You know, and here it's all at our fingertips, and we might go back to the selectmen and say, hey, let's think about selling it. Again, I think that should be the last thing that you should
Right.
ever recommend. I agree wholeheartedly that this needs to be cataloged.
Yep.
The town needs to understand what it has for open space, where it is, how much land it is, you know,
Right.
what the potential opportunities are for that space, and not just to say,
Right.
oh, you know, maybe
Right
you
now-
could sell it.
Right now, we're just kind of trying to weed things out, but I'll tell you something. We still own, the town still owns about 70 acres, no, I'm sorry, about 50 acres that's adjacent to the Pappas Recreation Site. Now, I myself, speaking just for me, I'd like to see that left the way that it is.
Exactly. I was a
You know,
town
there are-
meeting member, and I voted to purchase that
Right.
land rather than
Right.
Bob Murray build 100
9
houses.
million
on
houses
it.
up
So,
there,
right.
and there's so much.
Towns
there's-
are looking to find ways to
Right.
acquire more open space,
But there's so much.
not to get rid of it.
There's so much wildlife up there.
Mhm.
You know, Mrs. Downey lives up there, and she has deer,
Yeah,
you know,
turkeys
passing
are-
through her property all the
Deer,
time.
Turkeys, used to have pheasants, used to
I
have frogs.
saw my
don't see
first
them anymore.
turkey on Bryn Mawr Ave, and I lived
Right.
in that area
Right.
for you know, over 20 years.
And there's another property that I particularly am interested in is the property on Prospect Street that we took under eminent domain
Right,
when we were going to build
exactly,
a school up
build a high
there.
school, right, yeah.
That has
Well,
an old growth forest on it. You don't
Right.
see those anymore in this community.
No.
And
But,
you're
you
not
know,
going
we
to
have
see me
been
recommending that.
investigating solar farms, we've been investigating wind farms, you know, things like that, but again, I really think that it's not the right time to be, you know, saying that we could even 1 out of 12 to say, well, why don't you auction that off and make, you know, $10,000 for it, because then it's gone forever. Then you've lost any opportunity whatsoever. You know, that the town probably doesn't realize, other than the people watching from home today, you know, that there's half a dozen lots out there scattered around town. People on Arrowhead probably don't know that piece of
Right.
land is town-owned land.
Right.
And what their thoughts might be on that land, what their ideas might be.
And as you said yourself earlier, and as Mr. Anderson had said too, there may very well be a reason why these properties have been sitting there since one of them
Mhm.
was from the early 80s.
Right.
And it hasn't been
Exactly.
sold even though it's got frontage.
Because-
a lot of it's because there's
Because
no,
like
there's
you
no,
said, if
it doesn't pass perk,
Yeah.
there's no public facilities,
it doesn't have the frontage.
it doesn't have enough
the
frontage,
zoning,
you know, and
yeah.
if it doesn't pass the perk test,
It's all
you can't put a
ledge,
septic
it's
system in.
wetlands,
Exactly.
yeah.
And we may find that, you know, in looking at these parcels more closely, we may find that that's the case.
Right.
I think the thing is, when we say what could happen, not what should happen,
Mhm.
that some of the statements made tonight are, okay, it's a possible sale. There's, you know, from the surface, looking at it, maybe that's the good thing.
Well,
Maybe
all
that's
of these,
that's
I
a
mean, there's
possibility.
buyer out there
Okay,
for everything. All
But
of these are a
we need-
possible sale.
we need to look from, you know, from the planning end of it, and from whatever other resources we have, what the history is on some of this stuff. But if we look at it and go, oh, that's just open space, then there's no reason to go through that effort. That's the way I'm looking at it.
Well, no, I think that there is, because I think you have to look at each and individual parcel, you know, on its own, and not in a grouping of 12 or 20 of them, and look at the benefits that property, you know, has to the town of Auburn.
For example, Mr. Quinn.
And I realize that's a lot of work, but
It
you
is a lot
are
of
the
work.
Open Space Committee.
But, you
And
know,
you
we-
should be advocating for open space and more open space.
Could I, you know, just point out to you, I
Yes.
don't know if you saw the very beginning of our meeting or not.
I didn't, I'm sorry.
But the first parcel we talked about tonight is a property that we call the Gilbert Stockwell property. It's on Barn Street, and it's two parcels, but together it's a little over 75 acres. And it's Conservation Commission land. You know, we're not talking about selling that, we're talking
Right.
about possibly
And
making
there-
it to passive recreation uses.
Right, or even, you know, I understand that there are a lot of, you know, small farmers that are getting back into the business. You could sell off that land with deed restrictions, that it become a small farm, you know, that it, you know, continue like it was 200 years ago, that it be open, you know, and that, you know, then it's sold, but it's being, you know, productive, it's open space, it can support wildlife, but
Right.
it becomes farmland instead of, you know, 3 houses on it.
But there's also, you know, to the town, you know, this is all stuff that's off the tax rolls too. Not that that's necessarily a bad thing, but, you know, some of these parcels just, it doesn't make any sense. There's some things that are just, they're landlocked, there's nothing you can really do with them.
Right, but then I think your committee then, or somebody should, as I said, advocate for what could be done so that somebody doesn't, Joe Schmo, like I said, doesn't come in off the street to buy a 20,000 square foot lot thinking he's gonna build a house and he can't perk it. So, you know, talk about, you know, permanent easements and restrictions that a next door neighbor could buy it, and it'll be open space forever. It's you know, that owner is paying taxes on it, it's off the town books, but it doesn't change. You know, it supports wildlife, it's open space, and, you know, and the $10,000 that, you know, the town gets and spends in the first 15 minutes, you know, and then 6 months later is turning around to try buy the post cutting land back
Right.
for $3 million.
Right, I mean, we need to do something to plan for the future because, let's face it, you know, we wouldn't have thought 2 years ago that the South Old Road property was gonna come out of 61A and come up for
Right.
sale. You know, so you know, it's not if, it's a matter of when.
Definitely.
You know, and it concerns me, as a resident here for almost 30 years, it concerns me as to how we're going to deal with it.
Right.
You
And
know?
maybe if some of these parcels are sold, maybe they go into a special bank account
Exactly, we
that's
dedicate
used to
them.
preserve, you know, more important.
Could, you know, that's something we haven't gotten that far
Right.
into that, but that is
Yeah.
something that's been on my mind, is, you know, I think, of course, with tax title property, I do know that any monies that are made, the first person in line, the town, has to be paid for the back taxes. But I personally, just speaking for myself, I think that if any of these properties are sold, I think it should be dedicated into some kind of a fund that's utilized for maybe going towards buying that land
Right.
when it comes out of 61A.
Right, and not repave
I don't want to see this go into the general fund.
the parking lot of the school that we, you know.
Right.
So-
I think if we're going to sell anything, I think that money should be dedicated for use in something related to what we're trying to do here.
Right.
You know, but we're just really starting the process here. You know, our first task, I don't know if you know, but the reason why we were focused on South Old Road when we first became a constituted committee was because we were given that task first because they had a deadline of, I think it was mid-September, where they had to decide on how, the selectmen had to decide on how they were going to bond that property, whether it was going to be for municipal use or a mix or sold off or whatever. And depending on depending on the type of use it would be, would determine the rates that they would get for the bonds. So that's why there was such a push for the first 5,
Right.
6 weeks that we were together.
Well, don't get me wrong, I apologize. I'm thrilled that, the town has an open space committee and that you folks are volunteering, your time, putting a lot of hours into it and so forth. And I realize being on committees myself, it can be thankless at times, but, this is something that, probably is a several year process in the town, and we're probably 5 or 10 years or longer beyond the curve, on some of this. So, just some different things, for me, sitting at home in my living room, watching the meeting, not knowing, where this is going to take into, consideration.
And I appreciate you taking the time to come up here and give us your feedback, because it's not, we often have no one.
Right.
So I'm very happy, and I want you to know
Thank you
that
for coming.
the door is open, and if you are so inclined that you'd like to come, you're welcome at any time to participate. Even if even if you're the only one, you're
Right.
more than welcome to come. And I'll tell you something else too. When we started out, we were going to be a committee that was looking at disposing of these open parcels, either keeping them or deciding on a suitable use for them, or maybe marketing some. But beyond that, now we are also tasked with reviewing the open space and recreation plan that the town is working on preparing for the state. And that's what we were talking about just before we went to public comment. So that when we get through the open space report, the open space and recreation plan for the state, that can help us to be, once we get that approved, then there are a lot of grants that we would be able to apply for once we have an approved open space plan that could help us also in some of this planning and also
And
acquisition.
maybe some of that grant
Yeah.
money might, go towards some of
Right.
these parcels
Right.
and developing deed restrictions or use as a dog park or
Right.
selling it as a small farm to somebody that wants
Right.
to get into community farming or.
And something else that could have helped us that's really not a big help now is the Community Preservation Act.
Right.
If we could have adopted that,
We should
Is
have
that-
20 years ago.
20
yes,
years ago.
Definitely.
Right.
Is
now
that-
there's practically no money involved in it now
Right.
as far, if you went in now.
And that wasn't just for open space, but for
No, for
historic
historic
preservation
preservation. Yeah.
and so forth, affordable housing.
Affordable
Yeah,
housing,
definitely.
preservation, and open space.
Right.
Is
Those
that,
three.
is that something like each time you pay taxes, you pay $2 or $3 towards it?
Yes,
Yes.
when you sell your
Yep.
house.
Yeah.
I think the thing I tried to do with me with the golf course, something like that.
Yes, the idea at the golf course is to attach $1 or $2 per round at the golf course, with that money too being dedicated into a fund that would help address some of these issues with land acquisition. That's the idea behind that, and it's kind of, it's a comparable thing. But it's unfortunate, I really would have liked to have seen us adopt the
Long
Community
time ago.
Preservation Act, but there just wasn't any support for it here, unfortunately. There's just no way you're going to get it through.
Right.
But it's too bad, because the communities that did go into that early,
Mhm.
they really made out very well. But, you reap what you sow, and I guess, you can't look back, you have to look
Right.
forward. So-
On the flip side, we don't need everything paved over for used
I couldn't
car
agree with
lots
you
and,
more, Mr. Kern, I
Dunkin'
could not
Donuts.
agree with you more.
And every square inch of the town sold off to benefit, no one. It's short-sighted, so
Right.
we need to be having these conversations. And for novices like myself that are sitting at home and aghast at an open space committee talking about selling off open space.
Well, we're
when-
really just
Right.
looking at the
So,
idea to
right,
see
I'm
what's
just
there,
giving you-
Like one
Yeah.
of these lots is 30% wetlands, it may
Yeah.
work out that there's just, is no viability in it, we don't know. But we're gonna look at it further, and that's where the planning department is gonna help us.
Right.
They're the staff, they're here all day, they can help us, they have the skills, they have the knowledge and the training to help us to sort all this out. So we're really just kind of starting at the beginning, and they're gonna help us sort out the,
Yeah.
the details.
But another thing you gotta realize too, we're only an advisory committee. The selectmen have the final,
Mhm.
they have the final vote, they're final people.
But, you know, I know
Yeah,
that the town manager looks at, you know, the strengths of these committees and what their recommendations are and public comments and so forth. So, you know, your opinions, you know, do have a lot of great weight in this town. And I think that there's a lot that needs to be considered when it comes to open space and preserving whatever land we possibly can. So, or making, like you said, you know, future opportunities for other important pieces of land here in
Right.
town.
Right, I'm very concerned about some of those 61A parcels coming out.
Right.
You know, I'm
And
very,
we could
very
get hit
concerned.
with that at any point
Right,
in
because we
time.
can't, we can't buy our way out of all of them.
Right,
You
no,
know, I mean, we spent a lot of money on that land up on South Old Road.
Wonder what
You know,
prospects
we
would
can't,
go.
we can't do all that, we
No.
can't do that every time,
right.
unless we start dedicating some money towards it.
Mhm.
You know, you can't possibly buy all those things.
Right. So, just to give you an opinion of people like myself that are sitting at home, watching your meeting, you know, what we're seeing on the other end, so not to berate you or hit you over the heads or anything, but.
Well, it's all right,
just
sometimes
to,
we need that too. No, but really, thank you for
you know,
taking the time to
thank
come
you
up.
for a little bit more of an education on that. So, thank you.
Thank you, thank
Thanks.
you for your input.
All right,
All
have a
right.
good evening.
Thank you, sir.
When's our next meeting scheduled?
Yeah, our next meeting was going to be, I forgot the date, October 5th, I think?
Yes.
Um, October 5th.
Fifth?
First Monday in October. Now, my question to you is,
What
what time
time?
are we going to do this? The reason why we were going to stick with 6:30 because 6 o'clock doesn't seem to work, but the reason why we had to go with 7 tonight was because there was a veterans group
Yes.
that was meeting in this room
Yeah.
at 5:30, and we really needed this room because of the equipment here. And the town manager felt that it would probably be better for us to give the veterans group, you know, she didn't think an hour would be sufficient. So that's why we decided to go with 7, because of the time. We do have, Matt did tell me that he has reserved this room for us, but there seem to be a lot of groups that are meeting around 4:30, 5 o'clock, 5:30, that we could end up overlapping with, but we really need the resources in this room. So, anyways, I said the next meeting, the first Monday of October is the 5th, but my question is, what do you want to do about a start time?
I'd still like 6:30. If it would work.
I'm fine with that. I mean, honestly, you know, at the last meeting, I just forgot what time we were meeting, and I just assumed it was 7 because almost all meetings are at 7 o'clock in
I
town,
know.
you know. But if 6:30 works better for people, that's fine.
I myself I'd rather see it 6:30 than 6, you know.
Find 6:30 and 6, and if we're gonna be overlapping, just go to 7, and
Well, yeah, we'll have to
If we're
see how
gonna
that
have
works
to-
out, but
if we're gonna have to change the time every other meeting.
Right. I don't know how frequently the veterans group meets. I don't
I
know
know
if it's
they're
a
meeting
monthly
next
thing
Monday.
or. Oh, do they meet? Like a
Well, they just said they would be meeting
Oh.
next Monday.
Okay.
We don't have a meeting next month.
We don't have a
so
meeting next
it's
Monday,
us.
no. But,
At this point, there isn't anything on the calendar for the 5th.
But that
okay,
may not know until
right,
the next, you know, the 28th.
6:30?
6:30.
So we'll try for 6:30
All
again.
right.
Yeah. Do you think that the parcel of land that we're gonna put for out to sale for market, do you think you put like in a big group and do it that way? Or-
Market them all together? I
Yeah.
don't know. I mean, we're a long ways from deciding on
Yeah.
whether they're even marketable. I mean, once Mr. Benoit and Mr. Lesperance start looking into these details, they may find that there's no way they're marketable.
But
And like you pointed out you made a good point, and we all know there's a reason probably why some of these things have been sitting there for 30 years
Mhm.
and not moved.
there could be a sewer line easement through the piece of land too.
There could be, we don't know. We won't know until they start looking at it.
But I think it's worth identifying those that
Sure.
may have a potential.
Right.
And I'm
saying we're
not,
gonna.
you know, I think I've made my case too. I'm not really a fan of selling off
Right.
property unless there's a really good reason
Right.
to do it.
Mm.
But
would much-
I am worried about the larger parcels, and I mean, and there's some of the parcels we're gonna be discussing that, I'm just speaking for me, I am not gonna be in favor of selling them.
Mhm.
But the majority rules, so we'll see what happens. But anyways, minutes. We have 2 sets of minutes because of the last meeting. I don't think everyone had them with them. The August 17th, and then I was in a big rush the other night and I did the August 31 minutes, and so I did distribute them to you yesterday, but I made some typographical errors, word errors actually, you know, but spell check spells, if it's a word, it's a word. So anyway, so I made some corrections, and Matt had reworded a sentence about the Stockwell properties, making sure that it was understood that there was 2 parcels that were combined. So that was from August 31. So if you folks are inclined to accept one or both sets of minutes.
I make a motion that we accept the minutes as submitted for August 17th, 2015 and August 31st, 2015.
Is there a second on that?
Second?
Any discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Is there any other business?
I was
this evening?
Yeah, one thing.
Yes?
I wonder, would it be helpful for you if you had a person from like the tax write-off to work on the minutes?
That's a wonderful idea.
Because I know I was watching Senior Center, the Senior Center's
If we had
meeting.
somebody that was capable of doing minutes, that's a fabulous idea. Are they looking for more openings?
I don't know, they might be, I don't know. She just mentioned the places that there's like town hall, library, the Senior Center.
You know, it's a great idea, and I'll definitely look into it. It may not work because a lot of older folks,
Don't want to drive at night.
but it doesn't hurt to ask.
Yeah, or could they just, you're taping it right now, aren't you?
I'm not taping it, no.
Oh,
You could watch it from home on TV.
supposing could a person watch it at home and do it from home?
You could try it.
They would have to be here.
I don't know if there's a legal
Oh, yeah,
requirement.
it might be, yeah.
Yeah, well, I don't know if it's somebody taking minutes, that's different than a member being here. You know, but it's definitely, it's
Worth looking at.
It's worth looking
Definitely.
at. Most indubitably. All right, is there a motion to adjourn?
Make a motion to adjourn.
Second?
Okay, and I have 8:55. All those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? So voted. Thank you all very much.